What's up, you guys? Welcome to another episode of Coffee Chats with Jen here on Jen Gaga's World. I first want to start off by saying a quick disclaimer, and that is that if you do hear children in the background, especially my teenager that's going crazy on his game, that's just because, like everybody already knows, everybody is home during this quarantine of ours. So today happens to be my day off, and I've been wanting to film this video since this last weekend, so I can't wait to share it with you all. Another thing I wanted to share this video is going to be focused on why I believe in signs and manifestation and such. However, I don't want it to get misconstrued with a video for clickbait or just for views. This is something that is near and dear to our family's heart. It's something that our family experienced, and it was a very scary situation. But I also, because of that, I felt that this was the best way to be able to share this story, kind of a little quick life update for that, and also why this pretty much brings home why it is that I believe in signs and that things happen for certain reasons. So if you're interested to find out more about what exactly it is that I'm talking about, please go ahead and stay tuned and keep on watching.
I'm dreaming of you, I dream of a new life. Fighting the dark till we see the sunlight. My love, it's you and I. Close, close and cool like this fire. So reach for the stars, 'cause we're aiming high.
Let's go ahead and get started. So first things first is that a few videos before I had mentioned that something had happened in my family and that I wasn't sure if I was actually going to talk about it or if I was even going to share, and that if I would wait until the right time. Well, this past weekend, I feel that what happened to me was a perfect opportunity to sort of bring two different subjects together. And that is that things happen in life, and sometimes you wonder, was that my guardian angel? Was that, did that happen for a reason? Like, what was that all about? And so I've really struggled with when I wanted to really share this story, or if I even wanted to share this story, and simply because I didn't want people thinking it was just for views or, just for clickbait or, the whole YouTube thing, right? But as I'm growing my channel and I want to be relatable to everybody and also share that this is something that can happen to anybody's family. Nobody's invincible. And so that's what I'm here to share with you today. First, I'm going to tell you that this video is about signs and kind of how I feel about when things happen for a reason. Manifestation is sort of thrown in there, not so much focused on that topic. But first, I need to give you some background, and then at the end you'll be able to get to meet my son. So you're probably wondering, okay, so how does that all loop into this video? And you'll understand as soon as I tell you the story. Okay, so here's the story. My son rides his bike to school. My other son, he rides his scooter, and then my daughter at the time was getting rides to school as well. And this particular morning, I, of course, was at work, and it was almost the 8 o'clock hour, and I had not had any coffee yet. I decided that I would go make myself coffee. So I get up from my desk, I walk away, and I realized I didn't have my phone. Something told me, go back and get your phone. So I did, and I proceed to go to the coffee bar. And as I'm standing there waiting for the Keurig to make my coffee, which doesn't take any more than a minute, my phone starts ringing. And it's my son, my now 13-year-old son, Vincent. And so I answer the phone, and I'm like, hello? And he's frantic. He's like, Mom, Mom, Mom. Little Rudy was just hit by a car. And I'm like, what? And I'm just panicked, right? Instant panic, not something that you ever expect to happen. And as a parent, you always fear that to even hear such a thing. I just dropped everything. I grabbed my cup, went back to my desk. I told my coworker, I gotta go. And she's like, what's wrong? And I said, my son just got hit by a car. I don't know more details. I gotta go. So what ends up happening is I am flying like to my car. Like, I don't even remember how fast I was walking, but the point is I got in my car and I'm like getting ready to hop on the freeway. I don't know what's going on. I don't know where to go. I don't know what's happening. But then my husband calls me and he tells me, hey, I just got word that they're taking him to the local hospital. My thing is that, what do I do as a parent, right? Like, I don't know where to go. So I found out which hospital, and instead of coming all the way to the other side of town where we live, that hospital happens to be by my job. So I flipped around off the freeway and went back to this other hospital. So I get there obviously before them because of the fact that they hadn't even gotten there yet. The school officer contacts my husband and myself and lets us know that he's there on scene and he's making a report, but that they had already taken my son to the hospital. And then shortly, within like 20 minutes of us being in the hospital, the ambulance shows up. So they have my son, they're doing all these tests, they're, you know, making sure that hasn't broken anything. My son is in complete and utter shock, to the point where he's like crying, but he doesn't really recognize us. He keeps repeating like the same thing. I'm freaked out because I'm thinking to myself, oh my goodness, like, I hope this doesn't mess up his memory. We just can't have this happen. And it's weird because as a mom, you would think I'd be crying, but I feel like I was in that sense of shock. Like, it was all so surreal. Like, is this really happening right now? So without going into much detail, because I don't want this video to be super long, I do want to say that he was very, very fortunate, however the proper medical term is, but they had taken my son to get a CT scan and just to run all the other necessary tests to make sure there's no internal bleeding or brain damage. So they did the MRI and they did the CT scan. So when the officer gets there, we're just in the room waiting without the bed, obviously, in the ER. But even he says, you know, I initially wasn't going to come, but then when I heard on the ambulance that they had raised his level from one to another, he's like, I thought I'd come and check on him. And so he came, I believe it was sheriff, they came. And the main thing that they told my son is that you were very lucky. He was very lucky because he actually, the way the car impacted him, fortunately, the person, although they were going over the speed limit, they weren't like uber speeding, so it's not like they were going crazy or anything from what I understand based on the reports. But it was enough to where he was impacted in a way so hard that there was no brake. And the reason why we know this is because my son, mind you, at the beginning of this video, I mentioned he rides a scooter. And so my 13, at the time 12-year-old, there's this crosswalk. So let's just pause. I'm going to rewind and give you guys a little bit of a backstory. We've been living in our home for like the last now 4 years. And when we first moved in here, we were told that there was going to be a park that's going up near our community. And across from that park, there's this street. Now, you may have these, you may or may not, depending where you live, but there are these crosswalks that will kind of, if there's two roads, like if there's a road coming and going, they'll have like this crosswalk, and then there's these yellow lights that only go off when the pedestrian hits the light. So it's like yellow blinking. It's like a slow down caution, like a yield type light. When all this started, when I was, when we first moved in, I noticed that just in trying to walk or run or take the dogs to the park across the way, because the park's not all the way down here, there are people that are speeding at all times. And I'll tell you that there's been times where you'll push the light and they may not even stop. And there's been accidents before. There was an accident that I know of, the family no longer lives in our neighborhood, but their child was in a coma for like 2 weeks because they had gotten hit by a car. It was a vehicle versus pedestrian there as well. So over the years, I've complained, I've put in emails to the city, and it was always, well, eventually it's going to happen, but right now with the funding, etc. It was always the eventually it's going to happen. My argument was, why can we not have a stoplight? Why can we not get this done? And it was obviously funding, and there has to be the approvals of everything else that goes along with it. I had gone to the neighborhood, you know, neighbors always felt the same way. Everybody kind of had the same complaint, and it just, nothing was really getting done. So this is the same crosswalk my kids happen to use. So when I heard about this happening, of course my now 13-year-old did not go to school. He came with us to the hospital, and because my oldest son just so happened to still be home before all this happened. He was getting ready to head out to school himself, and when he found out, he of course jammed over to the accident and basically checked to make sure he was okay and picked up my 13-year-old. So what happened is when my kids went to cross that street, again, you're crossing 2 lanes that are going east and then 2 lanes that are going west. They were getting ready to cross the street that's going east. So when he's crossing, my middle schooler, you got to keep in mind the middle school and the high school are combined. They're not the same school, but they're back to back to each other. So they're going the same direction. So my middle schooler, he went in front of my high schooler and made it to the center divider before you have to cross the other opposite lanes going in west. Well, the person that was clearly driving east, and if this doesn't all make sense, just understand that basically my younger son made it across safely. But when it came time to my older son on his bike, you'd think a bike is big. You know, he has it's like a, what, 24-inch tires or 26-inch. It's like a adult-sized mountain bike. And he completely takes him out, which tells me that had you seen my, you know, younger son crossing, that would have been your indicator to slow down, because here comes another kid coming right behind him. And so what ended up happening, the witness that was behind the car that impacted my son, that hit my son, said the same thing. She said that pretty much there was no stop, and she saw it. She saw it like I saw it getting ready to happen. So she braked, or broke, however you say that, you know, and knew like this is gonna go bad. And of course he hit him. Luckily, fortunate enough, she's a nurse, and she was able to pull over, and the driver did pull over luckily as well. And she was able to offer immediate first aid and call the ambulance. There was somebody else that was like 8 years old that saw this happen, and she also called the ambulance. So you gotta remember, everybody's on their way to and from the school, so there's people everywhere. And although he wasn't speeding per se, he was going over the speed limit. So I guess in when it comes to black and white, you were speeding. So my son, the way that he was hit, he rolled to the front windshield, broke the windshield completely, rolled back down, and pretty much flew to wherever he ended up landing. But even with that, no broken bones, nothing other than stitches, and a bunch of road rash. Really bad, to the point where he was pretty much in pain for the rest of the 2 weeks. And he still has scars on his right knee where he fell back down. So do I prefer that happening than death or anything broken? Yes. He did have some what are they called, memory loss for a little while, but fortunately enough, it all started to come back. And of course, we had constant medical care, medical attention, we had follow-up appointments, and that's a whole nother story. But the reason why I wanted to share this story is that you can say, and that's him in the background, sorry, but you can pretty much say that, and even the officer said this, like someone was watching out for your kid that day, because the way he impacted that car, he completely damaged the entire front windshield of that car. Like, that was gone, and it was on the news. I'll try to insert a picture. I'm not sure if I have to block out license plates or anything, because I don't know the person that hit him personally, but I also want to protect them as well. But if I'm able to, I'll insert a picture here. But it really, really put life into perspective and really made me like, wow, like, boy, you were lucky. fast forward to why I wanted to share this. And the reason why is because I have a really good friend. His name is Michael Lemus. He's somebody that has recently also launched his own podcast. It's called arisewithlemus, Lemus. That's his last name. And he's really taking this new journey into talking about, just understanding like your angel signs, manifestation, and how important it is to manifest those things that you really want to happen in your life. And just like he shares, I hesitate on talking about the topic because sometimes people misconstrue it with being evil or that's not work of the gods, where I don't believe that at all. I actually feel that God has everything written out for you already, but these are the little signs that you get along the way to kind of help guide you into what it is you need to do in life, or how to really be able to listen in when you're getting that message sent from the heavens. And so that's how I take it, and that's kind of what he goes on to share. And so we've recently talked about, like, he did his own recent dream board, and we talk about like wearing your little like evil eye that protects from people trying to wish harm upon you. I feel like every culture has its similar, little bit of a twist, but a similar thing where it's like you have to, like for example in the Latino community, the babies, they'll wear like a little ojo de venado, which is like a deer's eye, and that's like another form of wearing like an evil eye so that it protects from any bad spirits, or it's just little things like that. And he by the way has not asked me to include him or shout him out or anything. I'm doing this because I want to not only express where this is all coming from, but for those of you that may be interested or maybe want to learn more, you can check it out. And so like I said, he does have a podcast on Spotify. I'll link it in the description. The reason why I bring this up is because that has opened the door for me to be able to share this story. And so really what sparked all of this is on Saturday morning, it kind of started last week on Thursday. Was it Thursday or Friday? One of the 2 days. I went on a walk, or walk run, you can say. As we all know, we're all working from home right now. And so as we're working from home, we're told, still stay active and do the best you can. And obviously the gyms are closed, so I've been doing my walks, and then at lunch I'll take a run or walk run. So this particular day I was walking along and I see this picture. I'll insert it here. And in the picture you'll notice that it says that there's construction being done to the part I forgot to mention is a few months back, after my son's accident, my neighborhood did pull together, and we actually went to city council here in our city, and we pushed to have this light change. Like, it has to change from it just being a yellow light. It has to be a stoplight. Otherwise, who knows what's going to happen next? Somebody can end up dead. And if it's my son's example, this is where I think I should have started, because this is kind of what starts everything. Like, things happen for a reason. My neighbor was like, I heard somebody got hit by a car, but when I found out whose kid it was, I thought, damn, it had to be her kid. And she's been the one that's been fighting for this light to be changed for so long. So we all came together, and thank God I seriously love my neighbors, because they all pulled together with me, and we rolled about, I think it was 5 or 6 people deep. We went to city council here in our city, and we each spoke at the podium and gave them our thoughts about this light. And so the city, the person is responsible for this light, he was very familiar with me because I had been the same one that had reached out before. Don't get me wrong, I've never been the one to be the crazy like citizen. It's like, oh, but you have to, but this, like, I expressed my concern, but once I saw it wasn't going anywhere, I kind of just backed off. So when all this happened, of course, they pulled together with me. I had other community members reach out that I've never met before, and I just offered them my sincere thank yous, because either they were there checking in on my son or their child experienced it firsthand. And so just being able to comfort one another and get through this was huge, and that just made me feel so good about where I live. So last week I see that sign and it says that things are happening, and city council had voted on it, but that day I had a meeting that I could not miss outside of this council meeting. So I never really got the clear, like I was told it passed, but I never really saw it in writing, or I just couldn't, like I would try to find like the documents and I never found anything. I just probably didn't know where to look or where to really go to find out if it had passed. But once I saw that sign, I thought, I think it did actually happen, like it's really happening. But before I got excited, I reached out to the city, and the person that has been working with us throughout all these years confirmed that they're finally changing the light. So I thought, thank goodness, like it's so sad that it took my own son getting hit by the car for it to finally happen, right? So I was excited. I was like, thank goodness it's happening. So Saturday morning, I get up to go again on another run, and I'm running. I start running, my shoe gets untied. Tie it. Okay, I keep on going and I'm running again. I get down maybe about a mile. My same shoe unties again. I'm like, oh my goodness, this shoe. So tie it again. So now by this point, I'm like, I did my big loop and I'm on my way back. And now I'm crossing right there by that, I'm walking past where that crosswalk is. And I had seen the workers the week before when I was walking, but I had never stopped to pay attention to the company that's doing the work. So as I'm walking, I pass by and my shoe unties again. Third time, right? And I've always been one that I actually asked my friend Michael the number threes. I always see 333 or the number 3 everywhere, and I always thought, is it like an evil number? Like, what does this mean? And he actually says that number stands for, it's like an angel number. So that means that your guardian angels or your angels above are looking over for you, or looking over you. Well, this was the third time my shoe came undone, okay? So I bend over, and I'm tying my shoe, but I feel like this was like, stop and pay attention to your surrounding. Because as I get up, I see the cones right there. And again, I'm walking again. And I see the side of the cone, it says Francis. And so I thought, Francis. Well, I go to a church in our local town called St. Francis. And I see that and I thought, I'll be darned if it says Saint. Because you know how the cone, like you see the side, so as you're walking, you see the front or the other side of the word. It says Saint. It said on there, St. Francis Electric. And I just about, like, I said, wow. And I stopped. I actually went back and took a picture. I'll insert that here. The reason I bring this up, you guys, I know this is like, oh, that was just a mere coincidence, but I've, first of all, never heard of a contractor company in our area with that name, period. But I really, as I'm walking, because I took a picture of it, and then as I'm walking, I'm feeling better and better and better about this. And I thought, oh my God, this is a trip. So this is where I want to share. Think about this. I've been pushing for this light for years. My kid gets hit by a car. This same kid, including Vincent, and my oldest, but my own kids belong to a parish, St. Francis Parish. They've had their sacraments done there, their first Holy Communion and their Holy Confirmation. They had it done at the church. My kid gets hit by the car. My kid has now become the poster child to get this light switched out. We are the family, with thanks of our neighbors, that now have made this push happen. And now the company that's doing the work is St. Francis Electric. Like, whoa. I was shook. Like, what are the chances of all that coming full circle, right? Like, it's crazy. Like, I would never have wanted my kid to be the reason and the only way to get this light changed. But I really stopped to think, and I'm like, wow, is that the sign that you for real had someone looking out for you that day? And I kind of feel like it might have been his little brother that we lost, Angel, a few years back. Like, I always like to think that when things happen like this, it's my son looking out for us. And I just think that was it. That was my signs. It happens in threes. My shoelace had to be undone 3 times for me to just like stop, really pay attention. And I just thought, wow. And this is why I wanted to share that, because like after that, I didn't feel emotional, but I felt good. Like, and that is where I'm kind of bringing that back. So if you don't believe in signs or things happen for a reason, you don't have to, but this is my story and I wanted to share it. I really feel that because of this, because of what we went through as a family, hopefully that's going to stop another family from feeling the same pain, potentially even losing their child or themselves. It doesn't even have to be a child. It could be an adult, somebody that's walking thinking that they're safe, and then here you get taken out by someone not paying attention. So is a stoplight a red stop sign, or like they call it beacon, is that going to stop everybody? Not everybody will stop. Not everybody's going to pay attention, unfortunately. But I really hope that that will make a potential difference in somebody else's life and save them from any other harm. So with that said, this video is already going really long, and I'm gonna bring my son in here real quick. It's gonna be really quick. He doesn't even want to be on this video, but I'm like, it's only right. It is about you, and I want you to be a part of it. He's also a little self-conscious because he hasn't been able to get a haircut since it's been weeks and they've been closed. But I'm gonna bring him in here so that you guys can get to know my little boy, aka big boy, little Rudy. I'll be right back. All right, guys, so I'm back. So this here is my son, Rudy. He doesn't want to even be on camera. He's like super camera shy. But just wanted to share with you guys that he was very, very fortunate, and he was being watched out by his angels that morning.
Yep.
Is there any words you'd like to share?
Wear a helmet and look both ways. Yeah.
Yeah, so let's talk about that. So one thing that I failed to mention is that was another reason why the officer talked about him being very lucky, because he was not wearing a helmet that day. And yeah, I mean, fortunately he still was okay, but it could have gone very wrong. So definitely wear a helmet. Anything else?
Nope. Just be safe.
Yeah, just be safe, and like right now, wash your hands. Mm-hmm. So yeah, okay. All right, you guys, so I apologize for that abrupt ending, but he just wanted to, well, I wanted him to come on here just really quickly, and he's a little bit camera shy. But for the sake of the video, I did want to include him and bring him in there so you can see who he is. I also want to apologize, this video is a little long. All of my coffee chat videos just end up being so long, and I hope that you're really still tuned in. For the sake of this video though, I did want to make sure to incorporate all the information as to why I believe in signs and such, but also apologize for being all over the place. I know that I kind of jumped back and forth, but I really didn't want to have to go and refilm the entire thing, and I just feel like letting it just all come out as it comes out is a lot easier versus trying to rehearse it, because I'll be here all day, especially with such important information that kind of pops up as you start thinking about it. This did happen last fall, so it's been a few months now, and I am very grateful that he's doing well. We do still check in with the doctor, and then of course we have done some psychiatric appointments just to make sure he doesn't have any trauma or any, emotional feelings, of course, after all of it. So it is something scary, and people, he was just saying yesterday, some people say, oh, did it hurt? you know, what happened, what do you remember? And honestly, he blacked out. So it's scary. It's something, you know, even though he seems fine now, you know, just to think back like, whoa, that was really, could have been really bad. So again, I thank you so much for watching. I hope that this video was of interest to you. If anybody else has ever experienced such a thing or even had a loss, my condolences goes out to you and your family. If you do have any questions, please feel free to enter them in the comment section down below. And I really do appreciate for anybody who is still watching. Again, make sure to hit that little like button. Make sure to subscribe. Hit the little notification bell too, so that you can be notified of upcoming videos that I may post. And again, I just thank you all so much for watching, and I hope you have a fabulous day and stay safe, healthy, and wash your hands. All right, bye.